Good morning. Welcome everybody to another episode of There's Insurance for That. We are your hosts. My name is Nate Brown.
And I'm Edwin Moreno, and today we will be talking about the process in getting your GC license in Chicago, Illinois specifically.
That's a big deal.
It
That's
is
a
a big
big
deal.
deal.
This is a big deal because it's like there's a lot of homeowners, building owners that usually hire a GC for like permitting purposes or just to help them with like a process, or there's property managers that know how to hire contractors, but they don't have the GC license, so they can't get the permits, and so they're like, you know what, we got to hire a GC to kind of do this from A to Z. And they
Oh,
don't, it's intimidating to think about getting the GC license so that they can maybe do the project themselves. I'm not saying that GCs aren't valuable, but I'm also saying that maybe if a specific classification of business kind of like corners the market in that way, it's really easy for people to like charge inflated prices, for people to kind of feel like, no one's gonna ever be able to do what I do, so I
yeah.
can just take advantage of people. I get that some people do great work and they should charge for that great work. Not a problem at all. But there's also people that don't do that great work and they're simply just charging because it's the convenience. And that's something that I'm like, let's
Hmm.
spread some information so that way people know that the process to get your GC license in Chicago is actually not that difficult. And the insurance requirements, which is why we're going to talk about this specifically here, is very, very important in getting your GC license. You know,
So
the
I got a
the
question.
yeah.
So initially I'm thinking of landlords who, you know, have to know something. Well, not you know, but that something breaks down that people call a landlord for if they're a renter. And those are some of the people I know off the bat that usually employ someone else to do the work, or they're trying to do it themselves to save money. So I guess I have a question, and this is the process of how to get the license, but do you think it would be advantageous for a someone who's in the landlord or real estate space to have a GC license or no? You know,
If just because you're a landlord, no.
okay.
I would say if you're a developer, yes.
Mm, okay, okay.
Right?
Got
So
you.
so so if because you could be a developer and a landlord, right? So because like you develop the buildings and then you can like rent them out, or you say, hey, I own commercial property too that I rent out. So you can be both. So if
What
you're
about
just land,
architects?
huh?
I'm sorry. What about architects? Would they maybe
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, unless
necessarily
if they're architects that are also builders,
that want to
then
build?
then yes.
Okay. So if you want to build, if you have a desire to build properties, buildings, real estate, so those are the ones who it should make sense to get your GC license, especially if you're in Chicago. Okay.
I'll give you an example. I have a client who owns multiple properties in the city of Chicago,
Hmm.
and they're purchasing more properties, and they're noticing that like they're doing all the renovations themselves, and they were hiring a GC to kind of like do the renovations, and but they had all the contacts. They had the carpenters, they had the electricians, they had the drain layers. Like they kind of like they had all the contacts, and it got to the point where like they're just like they kind of got purchasing a property down to like a science. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, we know we're pretty good at this. Like we know how to do this. We have the capital, and they're like, let's just get our GC license.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, yeah. And they asked me, would it be a good idea for us? I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I apologize. I didn't suggest that before. You
Yeah.
know, we're still built like, they came on not that long ago. So, I won't put too much on me, but still, like that's something that I love to talk about in those cases, because it's like, hey, look, you're purchasing these properties, you're not going to stop. You're doing all the renovations yourself. Get the GC license. So that way you can get the permits yourself, and you can like, you're doing a good job of managing the project. Like get the like it makes sense to get the GC license. right?
Yeah. Okay.
Especially if you have someone who's managing the project, have that person that's in charge of the GC side of stuff, and have a structure for it. Once you get the GC license, they're like, okay, I got the license, everything's good, right? It's like the license is a step, but then at the same time, there's like, who do you have in charge that's managing the project? Who do you have in charge that's managing the money of the project that's going to get the permitting? There's still something that has to be done once you have the license, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Or you're a contractor and you've been in the business for a long time and you're ready to get your GC license because you're like, I know how to do this stuff. I've been in
Yeah.
carpentry for a long time, but I'm taking on larger projects. I'm ready to, I'm ready to get my license.
Yeah. A lot
I've
of people won't hire somebody unless they are licensed and bonded and all that stuff. So yeah, it makes sense. If you're a Mr. Fix It or a jack of all trades type of guy, like you do this, you know this, yeah, just go ahead and get your license. You're going to make yourself way more marketable for other people as well. So yeah, do that.
totally, totally. And so there's a couple things when you're getting the license in Chicago, you got to go to chicago.gov. Right? Go to licensing and that's like the first process, right? It's like,
Okay.
that's where you can go to do that. But when you go there, um, where you're gonna want to go is to the Department of Buildings. And when you're at the Department of Buildings, you're going to look for general contractor's license, basically. Okay.
All right, walk me through that one more time. Step one, chicago.gov, y'all.
Chicago.gov.
Step two was
Step
where?
you're going to look for departments,
Departments,
and you're going to go to Department of Buildings.
Department of Buildings.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then there's supporting, and then let's get technical. There's supporting info,
All right.
and then you're gonna go to general contractor license.
General contracts. There's five thing areas you have to click to get there, y'all. So just
Yes.
just understand that. Okay, cool.
Okay. When you're there, so we're gonna talk about we're only so the next steps, do the research, read, read. Yeah, for real. Read. There's going to be links where you can go to do an application because you have to do an application. Once you complete the application, there's going to be a fee that you pay. You know, Once you pay that fee, they're going to ask you for a certificate of insurance.
Mm,
So, a part of submitting the application is supplying the city with a certificate of insurance, which is a proof of insurance.
okay.
Okay. And they want a certificate that shows that the city is listed as additional insured, certificate holder, and that it says Department of Buildings General Contractors License Program, right? They're going to want all that on the certificate. That's where we help you. That's where you
Okay.
contact, that's where a licensed insurance agent supports you in getting that certificate of insurance so that
Yes.
you can get your license. Because without that certificate, they're not going to give you a license. Um, on that page that we just shared how to get to on chicago.gov, there's a section that says, are there different types of contractor's license or general contractor's license? There are different types. It depends on the kind of projects that you're working on. So depending on the size of the project is going to depend on the limit of insurance that you got to get.
Okay.
You feel me?
That
So
makes sense.
so I'm gonna give you an example. There's an A, B, C, D, and E contractor license, right?
Okay.
So there's a class A general contractor, class B. So these are all different classes of license. Okay. So the lowest class is the class E license, right?
Mm-hmm.
The class E only lets you do projects that are $500,000 and lower.
Got you. Okay.
You feel me? So if you're
Yeah.
renovating a home and they're like, "Yo, this is a big home we're working on. It's gonna cost $510,000." to do this renovation,
Mm,
you need a higher classification. You need a class
mhm.
D, right?
Okay.
Because your class E only lets you do $500,000 and lower. And you know what? A lot of people fall under the class E. A lot of people are doing small remodeling jobs. They're adding, they're doing an addition, they're doing a back porch. Start with the class E. That's fine. You can always update that,
All right.
right? But you get the class E, 500,000 lower, there is the minimum liability for that license is $1 million liabilities. That is what you need.
Makes sense.
Okay. Right?
Yeah, makes
Right?
sense.
Because
If
they're
you
like
mess up
projects,
something, yeah, yeah, you're
right.
gonna
They're like, you
keep
know
some.
what? Projects that size, risk level, maybe not as
Hmm.
high. Let's do 1 million, and that's per occurrence,
Oh,
right?
that's
1
okay.
million per occurrence. So standard policy, $1 million per occurrence, $500,000 projects lower. That's what you need.
Yeah.
Okay. That's class E. Class
Okay.
D license are for projects $4 million and lower.
That's big jump.
That's a big leap.
That's a big pressure.
That's a big leap.
Yeah.
This recently changed, by the way. We have a video out from a few years back, y'all, explaining how to get your GC license. And if you watch that video, you'll notice that the laws have changed. Like that's an old video, that's not valid anymore. And so
Mhm.
now, in 2026, they recently changed. Every renewal license are subject to these changes too, right?
Yeah.
So then that started like yeah, in January 2026, all licenses have changed to this standard. So $4 million, so that's class D, $4 million and below, you need a $2 million limit in your liability per occurrence. $2 million. So that means, folks, this is very different from before. That means that you need to get so if you're doing projects, because before it was like 500,000 to 2 million, and you can have $1 million, you'll be good. So now, since you need those higher limits, we're talking about $2 million per occurrence. No insurance company is doing $2 million per occurrence right now for contractors. So you need to get an umbrella policy.
Dang. Okay.
So now you're required to get a commercial umbrella for $1 million to meet this $2 million per occurrence limit.
All right.
Okay, folks, until companies adjust and they increase their limits for contractors, for general contractors, right now you need to get an umbrella. And I know this for a fact. We received an email from the city saying we'll accept an umbrella, on the certificate, right?
Yeah.
So that's if you're applying for the Class D license.
Okay.
Okay?
City ain't playing. The city like, hey, you gonna make a small high rise or something like that. You better make sure these beams are sturdy, all the above, because you're not suing the city.
No,
You're gonna sue the people who built this thing. So yeah, you better have the coverages in place. Make sure you have that insurance in place.
you called it. You
GC.
called it. The city was tired of getting sued.
I bet. I
You
bet.
the city's tired of getting sued, and that's like, they're like, yo, we got to increase these limits. Like stuff is falling on us. Like y'all need to have the right coverage because we ain't trying to pay.
And so that's the difference between man, life be life. What can we say? Life be life. And when everybody knows somebody who's kind of good at this or that, and get their little handyman or something or somebody they know. But if that person is not licensed and they're trying to cut corners, I understand. We understand. Everyone's not rich who's watching this video, and you're
No,
trying
I
to cut
know.
costs, you're trying to cut corners, but there's some elemental law. Like if you're gonna do something where people are gonna be living in this building or operating businesses, make sure it's done right. Like it's just so much better to make sure it's done right, and then you have the coverages to make sure that if something goes south, there's money to.
Well,
recover from
I'm gonna tell you something. In insurance, the reason why insurance goes up is because is is when a lot of people try to cut corners.
it. Mm,
Because what happens is when you have people lying on an application about what they actually have, and then the insurance company goes and they've been paying less than what they should be paying, but the
mhm,
company still has to pay that claim. And so the company pays that claim, and then they're like, man, we lost a lot of money. We haven't been making what we should have been making on these kinds of accounts. And so those prices start going. So it's just this cycle. It's like for workers' compensation, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have any employees, right?
mm,
There was it's just like something big, and we'll get back to the licenses, but there was something big going on where, certain contractors were saying, oh, I have no payroll. So they were getting no payroll policies, but then they would come to audit, they would do the audit and they were just paying people cash, right? So they pay people cash. So they're showing I'm not paying anyone. So they're
mm.
paying the minimum because they have no payroll on their workers' comp, but then someone gets injured,
That
right?
part.
So then someone gets injured and then they're like, oh my God, I need insurance. Hey, my insurance should cover me. I have insurance. But the insurance is like, yeah, but you said you had no payroll. Oh, well, I just hired this person this time, blah, 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 or like whatever. And then they're like, okay, guess what? But by law, the workers' comp carrier has to cover that employee.
Mm,
So now this claim is $500,000.
dang.
And the company has collected the like no money.
That's
So,
crazy.
so the company pays this claim. Everybody that's insured, they pay the price
Yeah. Dang.
because prices go up because there was individuals that were trying to cut the corners, but it affects the whole industry.
Messes up for every. Yeah, yeah,
It
exactly.
just affects the whole industry. So it's just kind of like just something to consider is, Michael Jackson said it, like man in the mirror. It's important to look, it's important to look in the mirror, and so that was the class D. We talked about the class D. We got three more to go. The class C allows you to do projects that are $10 million and
All
below.
right.
Okay. So that's like a sweet spot. $10 million and below, and you still need $2 million per occurrence.
Okay.
Right? So not too bad. You just need to get that
Decent.
umbrella. Class B allows you to do $20 million
All
and
right.
below, and you need $3 million per occurrence. So it starts getting a little more expensive because the $1 million umbrella for a contractor, isn't, can be, between, I don't know, it could be between $1,500 to $2,500 per million minimum, for the
Yeah.
umbrella. So now we're talking about adding a $2 million umbrella. So it's going to cost a little bit more to get that insurance, you
Yeah.
know. Um, if you want the Class A license, that's unlimited. There's no limit to the projects that you can do, but you need $5 million per occurrence,
Okay.
right? So you're going to need your standard policy plus a $4 million umbrella. The $4 million umbrella to reach that $5 million per occurrence for that Class A general contractor's license.
Man.
So, and that gives you, your project. So again, that's unlimited project value
Got it.
limit, right? So, um, those are the new requirements for the different classifications of licenses. We'll have some, have some visuals of, I'll take a screenshot of this so that way, we can share that. But, that's what you'll find on chicago.gov. And that's basically the application process. You're in charge of submitting the application, sending it in with payment. What our job is to provide you with the certificate of insurance and to insure you, to provide you with the carriers. So there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of different companies. The more experience you have, the better it is. But you could get a policy for that class E, that minimum, like the minimal license. We're talking about, policy anywhere between 1,200 to $1,500 for the year, approximately. If you're like on like, hey, I'm just starting, I don't know what my sales are gonna be, very low. I mean, we could
Yeah.
get you policy. Yeah, I mean, the most I've seen is 1750, like 1,750. And that's just because someone didn't have like, they looked into their credit and there was like an issue with that, and they're like, all right, we got to go this route. And it was like a little bit more, but that's that's approximately where you can be at, and then it'll increase based on that umbrella, right? Like adding the umbrella
Yeah.
could make it go up a significant amount, and then also the prices are based on how much sales you have. So just know that if you
Mm.
have a policy for your general contractor business, a liability policy, they can audit that general liability policy, and they could say they can see how much were your sales. Well, they're going to ask you how much were your sales. Okay, you told us your sales were going to be 50,000. Your sales were actually 300,000. We're going to charge you the excess of what you didn't pay.
Mm.
So it's just important to like. That's why a lot of businesses, I've seen businesses close for that.
Yeah.
I saw a
Ouch.
business, I saw a business get audited and they owed the insurance company $90,000 because that's how much bigger they were. But then they
Mm.
were upset because they were like, I can't pay $90,000. And I'm like, well, you can because that's like the size of your company, and it's a small percentage of how much you generated.
Yeah.
Um, but you should have accounted for that. Like that's how these policies work,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
So it's important. I mean, that's an extreme case, like that's a
Mm.
really extreme case, and that was like a workers' comp policy too. But your general liability can be audited, and when they do, they're gonna collect.
I like the fact that to get your GC certificate, you have to have some level of insurance in place. Like I like that that is there. You know what I mean? Because it's the safeguard is necessary. You just never know. It reminds me of like an insurance. They have to operate and sell policies. We have to have an E&O or something policy in place. Just to make sure. Not that we would ever do bad work or anything, but there are people out there who are so happy. They just can say anything. You told me this and I'm gonna sue. So you better make sure, you know.
I, I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing this for like all types of contractor licenses.
Yeah.
They do it for plumbers. I think drain layers, they do it for drain layers. Like
Okay.
the drain layers license, you got to show up with insurance. If you don't have insurance, they're not going to give you the license.
Yeah.
So there's certain licenses that they are doing that. Um, I believe commercial roofing license as well. So there's certain licenses, but what you just said is important. It's they're really the city's just like, look, we're tired of paying. Insurance companies, the reason why they have us have E&O because we're not going to pay for your mistakes.
Yeah. Right.
It's as simple as that. Like
Yeah.
we're not trying to pay for your mistakes. Like,
Mm.
so you need this in order to do business with us.
Yep.
And so buildings, a lot of commercial buildings now are asking that from contractors. Hey,
Yeah.
you want to do business with us? Show us that you have your license. Show us that you have a certificate of insurance. Add
Yes.
us to your certificate of insurance so we know that it's up to date. So
Yep.
all these things are happening, and you could reach out to There's Insurance for that, and we could guide you through that process without, necessarily like, I mean, we have access to carriers, we have relationships. That's something that we do for a living, but it's like this is educational. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the point
Yeah.
of like what we're developing here is so you can learn about just like the different nuances of insurance and how to grow your business or how to grow yourself personally. If you haven't checked out our last episode, Nate dropped amazing gems about IUL versus whole life and versus just like how like what or like how you could use it as a vehicle for like financially and to protect you from taxes. And just those things are so valuable, and this is information that we believe needs to be put out there. It needs to be put out there so people can make educated decisions. And so we can stabilize the insurance, like insurance costs, right?
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
helps. Like when I believe when people are educated, it stabilizes things because people appreciate it a little bit more, you know?
Yes. Got to.
Um,
Got to.
yeah, but that's what I got on GC license and
I
process of getting it. And again, any questions, reach out to us. There's insurance
I
for that.
appreciate that last point you made because some people feel like, oh, they ask a question like, are you are you certified? Are you insured? Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Ask to see the paperwork, people. Yes, do not be afraid to ask for them to,
They have to.
yeah, like I don't
They
take the
have
word
to.
for it. Be like,
Hey,
boom, give me a
I need
copy
a certificate. It's simple. I need a certificate of insurance.
easily. Yep, make
It's, hey, I
sure.
need you. Oh, before we start the project, I just need you to provide me with a certificate of insurance, and I need to be the certificate holder.
Boom, that's it. Yep.
If they say I don't know how to do, that's red flag.
Run. Run.
But
Run.
they might say I don't know because they really don't know how to get that. But then you say,
Mm,
well, can I contact your agency where you have your insurance so I could request it?
yeah, yeah.
As simple as that. Because then the agency
That's
will
simple.
say, oh, well, they don't have insurance for that.
See? And that's why if you are a contractor, get the insurance, keep it in a binder or something you can show people. Like when I meet with clients, my license is right behind me on the wall. You can see if they want to zoom in, they can see my name, they can see the seal, everything. I just make sure, because I've had that question before. Are you licensed? How long have you been doing it? They want to da 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 da. Da. I'm like, look, here's my national producer number, everything. Everything you need, you can go ahead and look it up. It's all legit.
It's
I don't
all
play.
there. Right.
Yeah, and it's just a good safeguard to have if you want to be a general contractor. You know it needs to be there. And as I always say, people won't take you serious until you take yourself serious. So if you take yourself serious and you want to take it to that next level and you want to get your GC license and you want to make sure you have the right type of insurance, go ahead and do that. If you have questions, again, hit us up at there's insurance for that at gmail.com, and we'll leave some links in the description on the video here for that. So thank you all for watching. Everyone did an amazing job there. And stay tuned to next week in the next episode of There's Insurance for That. See you later.
Appreciate you. Peace.